Welcome to the Moms Making Money podcast, Kim. I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm super excited. Thank you so much for thinking of me and having me.
Of course, I am really excited to have this conversation. I know that so many people are going to resonate with it and just be able to see things from a different perspective. We'll go ahead and jump on in. I would love to hear to start out a little bit about your background and anything that you want to share about what you did previously to sleep consulting and what led you to becoming a sleep consultant.
Yeah. Okay. So before I became a sleep consultant, I was actually, before I became a mom, I was in dentistry for about 15 years. So loved it, super passionate about it until I wasn't. And probably like the last few years, I just kept saying like, I wish I could help people more.
Mhm.
Um, And like teeth are great and all, but I just wanted to walk away from conversations with people with them seeking some value from it or finding value in it and just helping them in that way. So fast forward, I ended up leaving dentistry because I had my first child in 2021. And very long story short, I battled with severe postpartum depression to the point that I was actually hospitalized for 10 days. And the big outlying thing there was lack of sleep, right? As I think it is for a lot of moms. I just had no idea what I was getting myself into. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know sleep training was a thing. I didn't know sleep consultants were a thing. And so I ended up finding a sleep consultant a few months after that, changed my life, saved my life. And yeah, and then my story kind of goes forward. I had a second kid, sleep trained him as soon as I could.
Mhm.
And so during this period, I had just been a stay-at-home mom with them. And that's when I think it was an ad popped up on Instagram for the Cradle Coach Academy. And as soon as I saw it, it was like full circle moment. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I totally just like jumped in with both feet, barely even thinking about it. I'm like, yes, this is it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That's so awesome. I love that it has come full circle for you and that you were able to work with somebody else who made such an impact on you, and then that led you to wanting to do it for others. And I think so many, including myself, can relate to the feeling of somewhat enjoying our job, whatever we did previously, but then realizing this isn't really like lighting me up. It's not really what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I think one of the biggest aha moments for me was putting it into terms of years and realizing I will be doing this for however many, 20 more years or 30 more years until I can retire. And is this really what I want to spend the like best years of my life doing? So thank you for sharing all of that. I love hearing the background and the story that brought you here.
Yeah, of course.
So I know something that you have shared with me previously was about paying back your investment, which can be a really scary thing for a lot of people. They may, be getting into this super excited about it, but at the same time thinking, can this really be something that I can do? Can I really make money doing this? And you had shared that you paid it off in 2 months working super part-time hours. And so, of course, that's amazing. I love hearing that. But I want to know a little bit more about that. So, whenever you decided to become a sleep consultant, were you having any like thoughts or expectations around how quickly you would be able to earn back your investment, or was that something that you weren't necessarily thinking about at the time?
Yeah, so originally it was a concern. And the reason for that was because, again, stay-at-home mom, we're relying on one income, which is my husband's. And so obviously it's a conversation that I have to have with him
Mhm.
and kind of pitch that whole idea to him. And of course, he was super supportive, but there's also a little bit of pressure behind it, right? Like, okay, now it's time for me to show up and show him like we made the right decision in this. So, so yes, the investment was a concern um, early on. I was a little bit more concerned with the time commitment with the course in being a mother of a 1-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. But that actually, I think because the content was so intriguing to me, I like flew through it and I just wanted to keep going on. And it was totally easy to navigate through like nap time when they went to bed, getting through the course. And then going back to the investment, yeah, I paid the investment off within 2 months, which was like even a shock to me. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually doing this. This is amazing. I think a big piece for me was I didn't focus so much on the number and making my investment back, but really focusing on how many families I could help, and keeping that the center of what I was doing. And then I started noticing that the finances are starting to take care of itself. So
Yeah.
if I'm keeping the families as number one and really passionate about helping them, all the other stuff comes and takes care of itself.
Yeah. That is such a good perspective to have, because that's why most of us get into this, or that's why, to me, anyone should be getting into this. It's not necessarily about the money or the finances. While that's a great perk, and obviously that's part of it, it's just so incredible to be able to change families' lives and have that permanent impact on their families. It's super cool.
Yeah.
So as far as working part-time and being a stay-at-home mom and all of that, what does that look like now? Are your kids still home with you full-time? How do you balance having this successful career alongside having your children home with you?
Yeah, that has been a tricky part, right? Is just like finding the balancing act of it. They're both home with me. They are 3.5 and 2. I am in it. Like there's lots of things happening over here. Um, but just keeping a calendar and a lot of stuff I do again during nap time and nighttime. And that's something that I love about this business so much is that I can take on as little or as much as I want. Um, yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just keeping things in the calendar, blocking schedules, getting things done during nap time. Oh my gosh, I'm so scared for when they stop napping. Um, but yeah, that's been a little bit of a tricky part, but I feel
Yeah.
like I'm almost a year in and I'm starting to find out the balance there.
Yeah.
Asking for help when I need it. My husband is super supportive. I have friends who, if I'm in a pinch and I have, 5 discovery calls back to back, they'll come over, watch the kids for me. Like it's totally, totally doable.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Definitely takes a village, whether you're running a business or not. It takes a village to get through everything that we do as moms. So that's cool that you have that and have been able to lean on that and be able to ask for help whenever you need it, because I know that that can be a hard thing too.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, right? Is like the
Yeah.
ask.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so when it comes to earning back that investment, whenever you were initially starting, what was like your thought around earning back investment? What did you think that you were going to need to do in order to earn back that investment and start making money in this business?
Oh, I knew right away, like, it's time to hustle. Like, I knew, like, I'm not going to just, people don't know who I am. People don't know me associated with sleep at all. So, social media, which is something that at that point I had no social media at all, not even a personal one. So, jumping into social media, I had taken a couple of courses just to be able to like understand it more. And like almost door knocking in a sense, but not like handing out. I got business cards. I started handing them out to pediatricians, my kid's chiropractor, just making those connections. But the reality of it is once you graduate, you can't just sit back and think that clients are going to come to you because they're not. And I think it's starting to pay off a lot now, a year down the road, because I have to do a little bit less of that, really like feet to the ground work, where now the word is out. So I'm getting like a lot more referrals. People kind of know me associated with sleep and potty. And so I think the expectation is you really have to like hustle in that beginning to really get your name out there. And that's what I did.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that a common misconception is like, I'm going to graduate and people are just going to be lining up waiting to work with me. And that's almost never the reality, right? So totally agree with that. So what do you think? I mean, it sounds like the hustle did contribute to your success, but was there anything that surprised you? In the beginning or even now when it comes to what actually led to the success that you're seeing now?
Um, well, I know that we'll probably talk about Lexi. That I think that was a big part of my success is joining somebody else in their business. That was a huge part. Um, and the surprise factor was just almost as soon as I started posting frequently on Instagram, people were coming to me like from other countries, even.
Mhm.
So I guess Instagram and really the benefit of those tools was the most surprising just because I was so like unfamiliar with it before. I'm like, oh my gosh, this stuff like really works. So
Yeah.
if I could give like any advice in that sense, definitely you don't need to do social media, but I think it has a ton of amazing benefits, especially Instagram. Instagram is where most of our clients come from.
Yeah, totally agree. So, on that note, let's go ahead and jump into the Lexi topic. So, we have alluded in the beginning to the fact that you did things a little bit differently whenever it comes to the business side of things and this career. And then you just mentioned Lexi as well. So, I would love to talk a little bit more about how that all panned out. How did you connect with Lexi? How did you end up making that connection that led to you working together? And anything else that you want to share about that?
Yeah, so I started making my way through the Cradle Coach Academy. I didn't go in with any expectations about what my business would look like in the beginning. And then as we kind of got to like the more business aspect of it, and honestly, even the word business makes me cringe. Like there's something about it that just stresses me out, right? Because I know there's a whole back end that goes into it. It's not just getting on Instagram and getting your clients and then, um, so as we got into the business portion of the Cradle Coach Academy, I was like, okay, this is going to be a lot. And where I'm at in my life with my kids and being a stay-at-home mom with how young they are, I started thinking maybe it would be better off for me right now to join an already established sleep consultants business. So that's where that idea was kind of born. And then what I did is I went to the Cradle Coach website where you guys have all of your graduates. And I honestly just like scrolled through until I found some like people that stood out to me, went to their websites, see if our values aligned, our styles aligned. And then that's how I found Lexi. So I found Lexi on your website. She's a Cradle Coach graduate as well. And emailed her and she emailed me back almost right away. And I just said, hey, I'm about to graduate. I think I emailed her like a month before I graduated. Hey, I'm about to graduate. I'd love to chat with you. This is what I'm thinking and stuff. And she emailed me almost right away and was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to have my fourth baby. And I have been thinking about adding another consultant for a while. This would be so helpful. Let's chat. And so that's kind of how that relationship was formed. It turns out of all the people like I connected with, we live like an hour from each other, which is so funny. And so another long story short, I ended up she added me to her team and yeah, it's been amazing. Like we fit so well together. She has taught me so much. I literally couldn't imagine like being where I'm at in my business now without all of her like guidance and support. And yeah, I could ramble on about her. She's great. Like in the beginning, I was literally calling her and being like, wait, what's the wake window for a 5 month old? Like asking her the stupidest questions. And she would like totally like, no problem. And again, she like just had her fourth baby. And so We just like bounce off each other so well. When she's having a tough time, she can vent to me. She like laughs sometimes at like she used to vent to her husband and be like, "Oh, this client, it's not going well." And we tried wake to sleep, but it didn't, and he would just like, okay, like he didn't get it right. And so she can kind of like talk to me now, and I'm like, oh, and sometimes it's nice to have like a a new perspective or a fresh set of eyes on a case. So we'll reach out to each other like, hey, am I missing something? And it's just been such a blessing to be able to like work with her on her team. And I'm so happy that I went about it that way.
Yeah, that's so cool. I am smiling because I had the other side of this conversation with Lexi. It's probably been almost a year ago. Yeah, that sounds about right. I think it was like March or April of last year. And she had just brought you on, and she was so excited. And we were just talking about the success because she had success in her business super quickly. Just a couple of months. She'd only had her business going for a few months at the point that she decided to bring you on. So her business kind of exploded very, very quickly. And she was able to make that decision a lot earlier in business than a lot of sleep consultants do as far as bringing somebody else onto the team. Um, and so I love getting to hear the other side of things and getting to hear it from your perspective. And I think like one of the things that stood out to me so much about what you just shared and that I'm so excited to hear is just like you said hustle earlier, and that is it for sure. But also I'm thinking like you're just such a go-getter. Like you weren't going to sit back and wait and see if somebody would post in the Cradle Coach Academy group that they were hiring. You weren't going to wait around and see if people would magically find you on social media. You went out and did things and took action to enable yourself to get to where you are today. And the success that you have is because of that. And not many people would go onto our website and be like, let me find somebody I resonate with and just randomly reach out to them and see if they would be open to hiring somebody. And so that is just super cool that you took that step and that it ended up obviously working out so well for both of you. So awesome
Yeah.
job.
I think
And
like if I like Lexi had been having it on her radar, but she at that point she was like so pregnant and taking care of these other kids that if I hadn't reached out to her, we probably wouldn't have made that connection. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like even if the sleep consultant may not be ready at that point, you're at least like putting a bug in their ear and being like, oh, maybe I can make this work and maybe this like will work out. So I would
yeah,
recommend if you're wanting to join somebody's business, send all the emails. What's the worst
yeah.
that can happen? They say no. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We have people reach out to us quite often, but I don't think it's super common for somebody to do what you did, which is awesome and it makes a lot of sense. So definitely makes sense to do that and take that step and be able to make that connection and not wait for something to come to you or happen to you. That's really what is going to lead to success for most is taking that initiative and putting it in your own hands versus again just like waiting waiting for something to happen. So I think that, like I said in the beginning, I think that this conversation is going to be exciting to a lot of people who are maybe just like you, thinking about the business side of things as like, that's really not something I ever want to do, right? Or that's not something that I want to do at this stage in my life, maybe later. And so I would love to hear a little bit more about what it's been like. Like, did you anticipate it going as well as it has? Is there anything that you would share with those who are thinking about this when it comes to working for somebody else versus starting your own business?
Yeah, so it's been amazing. It's gone like my business personally has gone so much better. Like I think I got my first couple clients within the first weeks of graduation, which for me was amazing. I wasn't expecting it at all. Like Lexi, we were still getting things set up and she like texted me. She's like, you have a discovery call. And I'm like, what? What do I do? And I was like freaking out. I'm like, Lexi, I have no idea what I'm doing. And she's like, don't worry, I got you. And like, really helped me out in that sense. But And I'll also say that Lexi and I had a conversation very early on where she was like, I want to bring you on and I will, but I'm not in a place yet to just be like handing you clients.
Mhm.
So I went in knowing that like my clients are going to be my clients and I need to go out and get them. But where she like really came in was just like the mentorship.
Mhm.
So and really helping me like figure out what worked really well for her and kind of duplicate that like on my side.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, the my business really took off. There is highs and lows throughout seasons, I think, especially when parents have a lot going on. Um, and so that was to be expected. Like December was kind of like a slower thing, but like that happens sometimes, especially with like
Mhm.
a lot of people like traveling. Um, and so yeah, I think it's gone so much better than I had originally anticipated, especially when I talk to like other sleep consultants, it's maybe taken some time, but going back to what you said, I think I'm wired a little bit differently in the sense that like I'm going to go out and get it. I'm going to go out and hustle. I'm going to go drop these business cards off and send emails. And I think that if I could give advice, just like you said, Marley, like you can't graduate and have this certificate and post it one time on your social media and just expect your business to blow up. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest advice would just be to like go out there, get it. It's going to be a lot of work in the beginning, but like I said, it's so fun now that I'm getting the discovery calls and they're like, "Oh, I'm so and so's friend," and um, it's just so awesome.
Yeah. Definitely. The referrals are the best feeling because you're like, it's validation in some way of, okay, this is working. Like the people that I've worked with actually had a really great experience. Even if you knew it, it feels so good that they are then trusting you enough to say, I'm recommending you to somebody else who I love who's struggling. And so the referrals are always such a great feeling. And then I also just love seeing how that kind of snowballs for sleep consultants who are doing so well, where they may initially, like you said, have to really work at finding those initial clients. And then over time, as they provide that incredible experience, the clients that have worked with them go out and tell everybody they know about them. And then before you know it, you're having this more steady flow of clients without you having to put as much time up front in the marketing side. So that's always the best possible outcome is having all of these people who are singing your praises and bringing new clients to you without the without as much effort on the marketing side of things.
Oh, it's the best thing ever, especially like the validation piece,
Yeah.
because, I mean, you have that wrap up call with them and they're like, thank you so much. You changed my life and this and that. But you still question, like, did they really,
Yeah.
And so the referral is like, oh my gosh, they really did like trust me and stuff like that. So yeah, it's the best
Yes.
thing.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so back to when you first started, was there anything that almost held you back from joining our program, or were you both feet in, ready to dive in?
Yeah, I think I was like both feet in, but again, I was worried about the time commitment. And then I was also already thinking like, how am I going to make this business work? So, with having the two kids at home. So I kind of like already talked about the course is so like personable and it's like when I'm watching the lessons and stuff, it's like talking to a friend and you're learning so many new things. And most of us, I feel like most sleep consultants are moms.
Mhm.
So it really just like resonates. And I learned so much too. I should have done this before I became a mom because I had no idea. Um, so just the time commitment was that's kind of what I was going back and forth about before I got into the academy. It was more that versus the investment for me.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, it ended up I breezed through it. Not that it was like easy to breeze through, but I was just like so interested and like wanting to learn more and just like start helping families. That ended up not even being an issue at all. And then the financial investment, again, I paid it off in 2 months, um, working maybe like an hour or two a day, Monday through Friday, if that.
Yeah.
So if somebody is worried about the financial investment, as long as you are like passionate about this and you're putting the family first and you're like getting out there, like I said, that's the last thing you need to worry about. You're gonna pay that off in no time.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I love that. 1 to 2 hours a day. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and is that including the time spent like on Instagram and marketing and everything like that?
Um, Instagram, I probably spend an extra like hour a day.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe like maybe 3 hours a day, including Instagram.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I know.
Cool. Yeah, it's the best, right? I'm always like, how do I explain this? Like it's so, and it sometimes it feels like that can't be real.
Yeah.
Like you can't really do that. But when you get to be in my shoes and hear these stories all the time from graduates, I'm like, no, it really is real. I'm not just saying this. This is the reality, and this is what it could be for you. But again, going back to everything that we've already said and reiterating all of that, this can be the reality, but not if you don't put in the effort and the time, and if you're not willing to put yourself out there in whatever way you decide that you want to, then it's not going to be the reality for you. But it absolutely can with the right plan, with the right actions, and everything like that in place.
Yeah. And let me just mention too that another thing that was kind of surprising going back a little bit is that when you think about sleep consulting, you're thinking you're consulting on the phone all day or you're making these plans and doing that. And that's a part of it, right? But what surprised me is that it can kind of you can add other streams of income too. So Lexi and I have been working on guides and other digital products. And right now I'm working on a potty course. And so it doesn't just have to be consulting on the phone all day. Like digital products are like totally up and coming. And clients love that, right? Where they can just purchase something super cost effective, read over it at their own time, learn something. And so I just want to throw that out there too for people who are considering it, is it's not just consulting all day long. There's other things that you can do
Mhm.
with it too.
Yep, definitely. And I always say too, like most of what we do is not scheduled. Like, so yes, we have our discovery calls that are scheduled, and we have our consultation calls or the training calls, whatever you want to call them, that are scheduled. But outside of that, like you can write a sleep plan in between things. You can do it after your kids go to bed. You can do it at 5 o'clock in the morning if you wake up and you just can't sleep, which is what I do all the time.
Yeah.
You don't have such a structured, rigid schedule. Most of these things, and then intermittently you're texting or emailing with clients. Like it's not this rigid schedule that we come to expect from either corporate or even other businesses where you feel like you have to be tied to your laptop all the time. It's not like that. And I think that's what makes it so awesome for moms, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or your kids are in part-time childcare or school or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah. I can pick up my kids and say, hey, let's go to the zoo, but still be working
Yes.
and texting my client back and forth, right? But still doing the mom thing. That's what I love the
Yes.
most.
So cool. Love it. So, with all of that being said, what would you say to somebody who is considering working with us to get certified and either launch their business or join an existing business with somebody else?
Do it. What are you waiting for? No. I would say like if you are feeling that pull, because it takes a special person to want to be a sleep consultant. You already have these things that matter to you, like maternal mental health and helping families. And so if you're already feeling the pull, like, oh, should I do this? Should I not do? If you're feeling that, I would say listen to it.
Yeah.
Listen to it, go for it. If it's the financial that's making you kind of go back and forth, you're going to pay you're going to pay that off in no time. If it's a time commitment, easy. Just wake up. Like Marli said, I wake up early too, and I get a lot of things done. You can get so much stuff done in the early mornings before your kids wake up. So much. So if that's what's holding you back, like don't worry about those things. If you're worried about making your own business, do what I did and reach out to somebody. There's somebody out there looking to hire sleep consultants,
Yeah,
So I understand like being hesitant, especially on like the financial end, but it's like it's such a good investment and it's the best investment and decision and put my life on a whole different trajectory in the best way possible.
amazing. I love hearing that. Awesome. Well, is there anything else that you want to share that we haven't talked about so far?
Oh man, no, I don't think. Oh, let me just say one more thing about the
Yeah.
academy, the Cradle Coach Academy, because I didn't just jump into the Cradle Coach Academy. I did research and I compared, other certifications and stuff like that. What I really love, besides just like loving you guys, is the continuing education. So it doesn't just like stop when you graduate. Like there's been times where I'm struggling with a client's like early morning wakings or something, and I'm like, the Cradle Coach Academy has some. I remember Rachel talked about this and they have something for this. So I'll log back in, go to my continuing education. I love that, like, we don't just graduate and then it's like, bye, see ya. Like there's a Facebook community. Um, I was listening to, I forgot that doctor's name you guys had on the
Dr.
other.
Consagra.
Oh my gosh. That was so good. So, so good. And like, just these like little nuggets that we constantly get so that we can improve our business, we can educate our clients better. And that's why like you guys win. You're the best. Yeah, I just love it.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Okay.
I agree, but obviously I'm biased, so it's great to hear it from a student as well. But yes, Dr. Consagra this week, that was like so good. Such a good conversation and so helpful. I think regardless of what stage in business any of us are in, it was like awesome and validating, I think, too, for a lot of us to hear that what we're doing it's evidence backed and it's proven and it's safe and all the things no matter what anyone wants to say, evidence doesn't lie, so it's super cool to have that perspective. But yes, I agree. I love the community. I would not know what to do without that community. It's just so amazing and reassuring, and to be able to have that to fall back on anytime that you're having a challenging situation or you just want to vent or go through whatever you're dealing with at that time with somebody else. It's the coolest thing to have.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I would love if you would share how people can find you. And you mentioned it a couple of times, but in case anybody didn't catch it, you were also a potty coach. So there may be people listening who need that. So if you want to share a little bit about how people can find you in Lexi, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I am Kimberly Rosales with three Z's at the end, on Instagram and TikTok. Lexi is at Lullaby Lexi Sleep, which is our business name on Instagram. She doesn't do TikTok yet, but I'm trying to push her that way. Um, and yeah, that's how you can find us.
Okay, awesome. And of course, we'll include that in the show notes so that everybody can easily click there and find y'all. But again, thank you so much for doing this. I so appreciate it. And I know that it's going to be so valuable for everybody who gets to listen. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.